even like some of my clients haven't been 100% sure what they want. They feel lost, and that's what I was feeling, lost, uncertain of where I'm going to go, what am I going to do, who am I, and having maybe some little nuggets of ideas but feeling too small to do it.
Hello, my dear friend, and welcome back to the Happy on the Inside podcast. I have a very fascinating guest for you today. Her name is Anita Adams. I had the pleasure of meeting Anita about 2 years ago at the podcasting event. And what struck me most about Anita Adams was not just her warm smile and a kind spirit, but her remarkable inner peace, unwavering self-trust, and her absolute zest for life. Anita is a spiritual entrepreneur and award-winning leader who spent nearly 2 decades leading a national nonprofit before finding the courage to listen to her inner wisdom and recreate the life of her dreams. Today, she is on a mission to guide others to connect with their higher selves, unlocking their true potential and leading lives filled with meaning, well-being, and joy. When she's not coaching, recording, or writing, you will find Anita exploring the world with her husband, who is also her best friend and a partner in crime of 36 years. If you are seeking transformation and a deeper connection to your true self, pay attention to Anita Adams. She is a force of positivity, a guide to a more meaningful life, and a testament to what's possible when you listen to your inner wisdom. Please welcome the incredible spiritual entrepreneur, speaker, Joyful Journey podcast host, and an author of Whispers of the Soul, Anita Adams. Anita, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Happy on the Inside podcast.
It's so wonderful to be here, Anna. Thank you for having me.
Anita, what is your secret of maintaining this beautiful and deep and meaningful and loving relationship with your husband, who is also your best friend and a partner in crime for 36 years?
Thanks for asking that, Anna. It's not easy to any relationship has its challenges, right? And my husband Tom and I had ours. We went through a really, really tough time about 15 years ago. And what I realized is that we needed to invest time together to nurture the enjoyment of being together and doing things together. What happened is we started going 2 separate ways. And I got so focused on the success of building my business. And I was having a lot of success with this business. And it was an exciting business because I was in the film industry and I was traveling at film festivals around the world, and it was glamorous and really exciting. Also raising 2 children. And so I put all my energy into my business and my children and didn't put a lot of energy into my relationship with my husband. And my husband, pardon me, he likewise was really focused on his work and didn't put the energy into us. And our marriage just about collapsed until we realized that we really needed to reevaluate and communicate. We needed to communicate what it was that we wanted from each other. And it's so interesting, and perhaps you've experienced this, and I'm sure other listeners have too. The more you avoid having the difficult conversations, the harder it is to have those conversations. And that's where we had gotten. We had avoided really sharing what it was that we wanted from the other partner, and this void came between us. Unfortunately, we woke up in time, and then we started having those difficult conversations because we knew we wanted each other in our lives. And it took years. It took years to repair. But the work that we both did going inward, really both of us looking inward and seeing how we are not contributing, or pardon me, how we are contributing to the problem ourselves, instead of pointing to the other person saying, you're the one that made the problem. And we, truthfully, that's what we used to do. We used to think it was the other person that was the problem. And until we stopped and looked at what we were doing to make us not work, to contribute to the challenges, until that time, things were just not good. But once we started to look inward, that's when things started to change. And we realized, and I've already said this, we realized we needed to make us a priority and find things that we wanted to do together. We wanted to be a team and enjoy life together. And that's when we started to do more things together. We started planning trips. We started bike riding and hiking together and kayaking together, and just finding these things that we wanted to do together. And I think that's where your joy really comes from, is having a partner that you can do things with, that you love doing together.
That's such a powerful story, and such a powerful advice as well. The communication is key, and also prioritize each other. Because what I've realized, we've been traveling with my husband like nonstop for 2.5 years now. And we literally spend 24/7 together.
Yeah.
But before, I was working, he was working, that's what we were talking about. And we kind of were growing apart. But now when we stuck together, we really have to learn how to be in the same environment together. And the communication was one of the biggest challenges in our relationship, to tell really your partner to what you want from him.
Yeah, you can't leave it to guesswork, right? You know, and that was my mistake, and my husband's mistake. We were guessing what the other person wanted. And my biggest thing, and I think maybe I'm stereotyping here, but I think women do this, where they want their husbands to know what they are thinking, and they're, projecting this mental energy, just like, can you please clean up the kitchen? But instead of actually asking that, you slam cupboards and bang pots. That's the way I behaved for a long time. And now I don't get frustrated if my husband doesn't pick up on my mental telepathy. I ask, can you please clean the kitchen? And he's like, yeah, sure. It just doesn't even, compute that that's something that I wanted, even though we've been together for 35, 36 years now. It's just like, yeah, I have to ask. And I've gotten okay with asking for what I need, instead of thinking my husband, if he really loved me, he should know what I need. That's just bullshit. Ask for what you need. Ask for what you want.
Can't you read my mind?
Yeah, exactly.
And Anita, just following you on social media, which is really amazing, the places you go, you kind of understand that you need a partner to share those kind of experiences with him. Because I can see so many people, just due to the work I do, so many people are struggling to find their ideal man or ideal woman that's really on the same level with you. When you hear those stories, you realize how lucky I am actually to have a partner.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's to a point. I don't think you necessarily need to have a partner to experience all these things that we experience. And life is richer when you can share it with somebody. And it's also easier. It's easier to travel when you have a partner that provides that comfort when things get uncomfortable, because traveling in foreign countries can be extremely uncomfortable. And if you can do that with somebody you trust, it creates a little mini micro safety net So I think you're right. We are deeply blessed that we have partners that enable that for us. And then my hat's off to all the women, particularly women, who travel solo, that are out in the world doing the things you and I do without a partner. That takes tremendous courage. And yeah, my hat's off to all those women. And I'm deeply blessed that I've got a partner that wants to do these things with me.
Absolutely. Anita, you are traveling the world. Like, I know you settled down just for a bit, probably.
Yeah.
But just speaking from my own experience as well, traveling can be really joyful and really challenging. And my deepest fears or anxiety before we started to travel were, where we're gonna go, where we're gonna live. We don't speak a foreign language. How are we gonna survive? So and those kind of things can really hold you back. How do you deal with those kind of things where you go to a foreign country, you don't know anything or you don't know anyone? How do you thrive in those environments?
I love it. So it doesn't actually stress me out in that way. I really love stepping into new, rich experiences. I find it exhilarating, and yeah, it can be frustrating and scary at times. Scary is not the right word. It can be intimidating at times, especially when you're trying to communicate something and you don't have the grasp of the language. And yet I find that my experiences with people around the world, by and large, have been extremely positive. And the kindness of strangers, it always gets me, the kindness of strangers. We were, one little example, we were trekking through the Swiss Alps a number of years ago, and the sole on the bottom of my husband's shoes broke off. And so we're in the middle of the mountains, and this solo hiker we came across, and he's like, "Hey, what size feet do you have?" And Tom, my husband, told him, and he's like, "I've got a spare pair of shoes." And he just gave him and then he carried on. And I'm like, wow, like, that's just awesome. It's just awesome. And we've had experiences like that all over the world, where people are just generous and kind, and they want to help you, even if they don't speak the language. And so long as you try, like, if you don't show up, demanding that the other person speaks English, you get kindness in response, and people want to really help. So that has been my experience anyways. And in preparation for any unknown, like for me, like the stepping into the unknown, it's something I tend to talk a lot about. I invest time with myself in nature to help ease the anxiety. So we became nomads about 3 years ago and got rid of all of our possessions. And so I feel like we're constantly stepping into the unknown. And it can be a little unnerving when you're not even certain where you're going to be living, tomorrow or next week or whatever. And so if I feel overwhelmed, I go for a walk in nature. Let me rephrase that. I try to go for a walk in nature every single day to prevent me from getting to that state of anxiety, because that has been my experience, that when I'm anxious, I can't think straight. I get really, I get nervous about everything. I'm uptight. But if I am consistent with the practice of nurturing myself, my soul, by going for walks in nature, I don't get there. I don't get to that state of anxiety. And so, I find that has been instrumental in helping me remain focused and calm, and in the state of inner peace as we move through the world.
I know you have an amazing story of how you learn about going to the nature and really reconnecting with yourself. Would you share this story? I know it happened kind of recently during COVID-19.
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's very pivotal time in my life. I mentioned earlier that I had a business in the film industry. I was promoting Canadian film and talent. And it's something that I built from the ground up in 2001. So I've been working on that business for a very long time, and I was very proud of it. And it gave me a sense of personal identity, right? Like I felt like I had a purpose. And then COVID hit, and all of our partners, all of our funders, all of our sponsors, everybody literally overnight pulled out. And I was going deeper and deeper into my line of credit. I had a staff across the country that I was responsible for, and the anxiety hit me big. It hit me so hard. I've never felt this kind of anxiety. And it wasn't just about losing a paycheck. It wasn't just about paying my staff. All of that was important and stressful. The big thing for me was that I was really losing my sense of identity and my purpose. And it made me, I felt so small and insignificant and so freaked out. And I kept asking anybody who would listen, what am I supposed to do? And one day I brought that question to my business coach, and she asked me in return, she's like, Anita, well, what do you typically do when you're feeling stressed? And I'm like, well, I usually go for a walk in nature, in the woods. That usually calms me down. She's like, perfect. Here's what you're going to do. Every day for the next 30 days, you're going to go for a walk in the woods. And I'm like, what? I can't do that. And I really pushed back, because in my mind, I'm thinking, what kind of business coach gives her client this advice? This is like nature therapy, not business coaching. And I needed to know what to do to fix my business. And I just didn't feel like I had time to go in for a walk. I wanted to know, what can I do? Give me the list of things I can do to fix this. And she's like, no, go for a walk every day, commit to this. And she managed to get a commitment out of me. And the only way I could figure out how to make this work in my schedule was if I would get up at the crack of dawn and slip out of the house before anybody else was up. And that's what I did. So I went down to this, and at the time I was living in North Vancouver in Western Canada, and the forest was practically my backyard. And so I would slip out and stomp down to the creek. And as I'm marching down there, I was demanding of God, the universe, the squirrels, what am I supposed to do? Every single day. That was like my mantra. And I was kind of like marching down the creek. What am I supposed to do? And I was trying to figure it out. And slowly, over the course of a few weeks, I started to calm down. I started to connect with my environment and notice the beauty that surrounded me, and how the light was coming in through the trees, and the sounds of the birds and the creek and the wind on my face, and all of this. I was just feeling really connected with this beautiful environment, and I was falling in love with my environment. And through this calmer place, this sense of connection with my environment and this feeling of love for all that's around, I asked my question again, what am I supposed to do? And this time I got an answer. And it was my voice that I'm hearing bubbling up from within, but it was like an older, wiser version of me. And she simply asked, what do you want to do? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do I want to do? And we've all had arguments with ourselves, right? And this is what was going on, but it was just so different. And the response was like, no, Anita, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. Yes, you do. And that stumped me. And I literally stumped. And later that day, I found myself at the bookstore, at the back corner in the spirituality section, clearly still looking for somebody or something to tell me what to do. And I found this one book. It caught my eye. It was Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And I pulled it off the shelf. I flipped it open, and there was this one line that just leapt off the page, and it said, "Frustration and anxiety come from not listening to the soul." Frustration and anxiety come from not listening to the soul. And I realized I'm not listening. I'm not listening to my soul. And I've been there before. You started this conversation asking about my relationship with my husband. There was a time I wasn't listening to what I knew I needed to do, or the person I needed to be, the person I wanted to be. I wasn't listening to that because I was so wrapped up in what was happening in my business world and the validation I was getting from, filmmakers, directors, producers, the heavy hitters. I liked getting all of that validation, and I was turning away from my husband. And I realized way back then, like that was 15 plus years ago, that I wasn't listening, and I tuned in and I listened then. So this is familiar to me. I'm not listening to my soul. I gotta listen again. And I left that bookstore with new resolve. I bought the book. And I left that bookstore with this deep, deep desire to figure out how to tune in and listen to my soul. And every day I was back in the forest, now with a new question: what do I want? And I didn't hear anything for a while. The truth be told, I was desperate for the answers still, and I was pushing, and eventually I did figure it out. I figured out the secret, if you will, the code that unlocked that door to the soul. And it really is presence. It's getting connected with your environment and with your higher self. And I find that it's why I'm so passionate about stepping into nature. For me, nature, it's a sacred portal to your highest self. It helps you unplug from the busyness of the world. It helps you unplug from all the noise and the chatter and the shoulds of, everybody's telling us who we should be. We're constantly getting that. And we know who we are. We know what we really want. We know what's important to us. But we have to unplug from that to really tune into that part of ourselves. And so when I really leaned into that, when I got present and listened, the answers started, they just started to come in. And it was beautiful, Anna. It's interesting. The very first whisper, if you will, that I got when I started asking, what do I really want? It was that I wanted to close my business. And I reeled from that as well. What? No, I want to save my business. Don't I? Don't I? And I had to keep coming back and asking that question again. Do I really want to close my business? And as I leaned in and listened to the feeling of that answer being yes, I realized it's true. I actually wanted to close my business. I wanted out of that business years ago. I just didn't have the confidence or the courage to step away from it. I didn't know what else I could possibly do. I had been doing the film promotional agency for 18 years. What else could I possibly do? And I just didn't have the confidence in myself to let go of that. So when I leaned in and listened, and I got that nugget of wisdom, if you will, I found the confidence. Eventually, it took a while. Like it wasn't like that. I had to really sit with this and keep coming back and asking, is this what I want? I made the decision. I didn't talk to anybody else until I was 100% firm with this is the right choice for me, because I knew I was going to get pushback from everybody else. And I did. I had a lot of people that didn't want me to close that business. A lot of people that were, like, what are you nuts? Let's do that. Are you sure? And Tom, my husband, was the first person I talked to, and he 100%, he always supports me, like he gave me that support, but everybody else was really pushing me to try to find a way to make it work. And I'm like, no, You know, it's time for me to move on. And then more things started to float in, you know, like I had to figure out, well, what now? What do I really want to do now? And the first thing that came to me was to teach people how to listen to their inner wisdom, that connect with their higher self. And that was very scary. I pushed that away for a whole year, Anna, a whole year. I'm like, who am I to do that? Right? That's way too big. That's scary. And there were a few moments of curiosity, though, where I'm like, well, what would that look like? What would it look like for me to teach people how to tap into inner wisdom? And the very first thing that came was to create a retreat center where people could come and I can, you know, have like an institute or a place to teach. And again, no, that's just way too big. But what else could I do? And write a book came to me, offer retreats, and do a podcast. And yeah, I'm like, well, that's not mine to do. A whole year passed.
Inner critic.
Yeah, not just not believing in myself, right? You know, like who the inner critic was saying, who are you to do that? You're no guru. Your spiritual journey is, you know, is small compared to, you know, so many others out there. And I just didn't have the belief in myself to do it. And there's another story. I don't know if I should tell it. I feel like I'm just going on and
yes,
on. But
please.
Eventually, I leaned in, and the leaning in came after spending. My husband and I went on a month-long kayaking trip. We were one of the whispers to back up. One of the whispers was to get rid of our possessions and turn nomadic, and that I'm like, that's kind of interesting. You know, it kind of fulfilled that adventurous side of me and my husband. And so we got rid of our possessions, and, you know, it was early 2020, I guess. It was at the end of 2020 when we got rid of our possessions and turned into a nomadic lifestyle. And it's been amazing. We've seen and experienced so many wonderful things. But there was a summer where we were between stuff. We didn't know where we were going to live, what we were going to do, and I suggested to my husband that why don't we, you know, take a month and kayak up the coast of British Columbia, and he thought, yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. So we did. And it was, you know, 3 weeks into this epic kayaking trip, and it was flat, calm water. It was just this beautiful, beautiful day. And my husband is about, you know, 10 feet behind me. And we're just, you know, paddling along ever so peacefully. You can see the, you know, moon jellyfish in the water below me, and a couple seals off in the distance. And I just was in awe of this incredible space. And I was in awe of myself for having done this. You know, I've never done anything like this. I mean, we've been on kayaking trips before, but nothing like this, and never in a single seat kayak. That was important for me. I've been in doubles before, but never in a single seat kayak on a trip. And I'm like, wow, you know, I've done this incredible thing. You know, what else am I telling myself that I can't do, but can really? What other limiting beliefs have I been holding on to? And it was in that moment where I heard that voice again, and it bubbled up from within, strong, confident, powerful. And she simply said, it's time. And I realized it's time to stop playing small. It's time to lean into what I'm here to do and believe in myself. We all have that, right, Anna? We all have this incredible potential and these incredible possibilities for ourselves. And we put the limits on. We say, I'm not enough. We say, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm not capable enough. I'm not young enough, whatever it is. We put those limits on us, and we prevent ourselves from doing and achieving extraordinary things and being extraordinary. We are all extraordinary. We are spirit in a human body, and we are capable of so much. And yet we tell ourselves we're not. And that was my moment of, I am capable of so much more than what I've given myself permission to be. And I leaned in, and and all sorts of, it's so interesting. And I'm sure, Anna, you've experienced this too. When you lean into what you feel called to do, or when you lean into your potential, all sorts of synchronicities happen, coincidences, people you meet, the path forward just becomes so much more accessible and clear. And you know what to, you take the next step and the next step, and it opens up for you. And that's what happened to me. Like, just continuously connecting with people that open more doors, and they would be presented to me and just literally show up unexpected, and things would happen. And so when I got back from this trip, within a few months, I had launched my podcast. I had started to host retreats on beautiful Bowen Island. And I began the writing process for my book. And I've recently completed writing my book. And it's, and I still plan to, I want to create my own retreat center. That's next. I have to settle down before that's going to happen. So I don't know when and where I'm going to do that, but that's in the making somewhere in my future for sure. So there you go. That's my story of leaning in and listening, stepping into nature, and how pivotal that has been in my life. And it's all about presence, Anna. It's all about just getting present to who you really are, and tuning in and listening. Some people do that through meditation. I find it easier to do it by walking in nature, which is a walking meditation, really.
Exactly. You know, I have so many comments on what you've shared right now. It's so powerful, Anita. When you were talking, when you were describing your journey on this beautiful water, I kind of felt this bliss.
Yeah.
And you know what? You just gave me this idea. I'm holding, like, literally, it's a piece of paper, piece of survey.
Like a napkin.
Napkin. Where I found my mom wrote these beautiful words, and she was saying that until you take responsibilities about your life, there is always chances to step back. And when you commit to something, when you make this decision, and when you make the first step towards your journey, the universe, the God, is also making the first step towards you. It's amazing. I just was sitting here.
That's awesome.
But I want to ask you, Anita, do you think some of the insecurities or self-doubting and not enoughness came from your childhood?
Oh yeah, for 100%. I had I had an emotionally abusive stepfather who told me I was stupid constantly, and would mock me publicly. Public humiliation was his form of trying to control me. So yeah, the I'm not smart enough is a big Achilles heel that I still it still crops up every once in a while, and I have to ask myself, is that true? Like I have to let go of those old stories by first noticing that it's happening, and then asking, is that true? And I'm like, no, I'm smart. But it's still, it still crops up every once in a while. And yeah. And I have to say, I have forgiven my stepdad. That's an important part of my journey. And I think you and I did a beautiful podcast on my show about forgiveness, right? And that's a really important step. I realize I have some more self-forgiveness to do, though. So, yeah.
How old were you when this abuse has been happening?
My stepdad came into my life at 4 when I was 4 years old, and I one of my childhood memories was from that age. I won't get into the story behind that. I just that's when it started. It was at 4, and it was probably at its worst or at its peak in my early teens. From 13 to well, all the way through my teens, and then I left at 19. And
The
yeah.
reason I'm asking, Anita, because I have a question for you. If
Mm,
you, I want you to imagine you have an opportunity to go back to your 13 years old Anita.
mm,
What would you tell her now?
hmm. I would tell her that she is enough, that she's brilliant, that she doesn't need the approval of everybody else, that she's beautiful. I thought I was really ugly. Yeah, I used to look in the mirror and cry. Yeah. And I wasn't. I look at pictures now back at when I was young. I'm like, wow, you're a really good looking young lady. But I did not think so. I did not have the confidence. So I would
Mm.
hug her and tell her she's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Such a beautiful words. Do you think this situation holded you back from become a model? I know about your secret
You do.
secret
Yeah.
wish.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. I had a modeling career for some time, and I think I was really seeking validation. You
Mm,
know, I wanted validation big time, which is also what caused a lot of the problems with my marriage, right? Like I was
mhm,
getting the validation from my work, but from these highly successful creative filmmakers and producers, and that yeah, I was always seeking validation because I didn't get it from my childhood,
mhm.
not the way I wanted it from, yeah, daddy issues for sure. So
Only
yeah.
if parents knew how it's going to impact our life in the future when we are adults. Anita, I want to ask you another question. If you're willing to share,
100%.
who was your most challenging client and how did you help him or her?
Hmm. My most challenging client. Maybe I've been really blessed because the clients that I have worked with have been they're all really keen. I think I haven't had anybody that's not wanting to do the work. And I know from experience with family who I want to coach, um, that they don't want to do the inner work. And the people that I've worked with, they all want to do the work. And I find that so exciting and exhilarating because I see the transformation happening with them. And what that transformation is going from, it's basically what I went through, where I didn't believe in myself
Mm,
and had an idea of something that I wanted to create for my life. And or not even, like, some of my clients haven't been 100% sure what they want. They feel lost, and that's what I was feeling, lost,
mm,
uncertain of where I'm going to go, what am I going to do, who am I, and having maybe some little nuggets of ideas but feeling too small to do it. And then seeing my clients step into the belief of who they are and what they're capable of is so incredibly rewarding. They've all done the work though, and you have to be willing to go into that darker space often, to identify what is the fear that is holding you back, and then working through the process of letting go of the fear. It's actually more, the truth is you're not letting go necessarily of the fear. You're letting go of the hold on the fear. Like we hold on, we click, click, click.
Mm-hmm.
cling to fear, like we
Mm-hmm.
grab onto it and we just don't know how to move past it. And when you learn the process of moving through fear, you build confidence, and then the fear starts to disappear, to be dismantled. So I like witnessing my clients moving through their fear and stepping into their greatness, and we're all capable of that, right? We're all capable of that. So, and some fears, if they're rooted in deep trauma,
Mm-hmm.
need more work. Yeah, and there's some clients you have to. Some clients need to move towards therapy,
Mm-hmm.
or hypnotherapist, like yourself, to help break through, because
Mm-hmm.
they don't even understand necessarily the root of the pain and the
Mm-hmm.
trauma. So I like to, if I need to, I will redirect people to work with somebody like yourself, Anna, and then have them come back, and because the work I do is about moving forward.
Yeah.
It's about the future. It's not about the past.
Mm-hmm.
We can identify what are the barriers, and then we move forward. But if a barrier is so big that we have to dig in deep into the past, then I refer people to a therapist to do that kind of work.
Mm-hmm. I know you are sharing three guiding principles for finding your inner wisdom. Would you happy to share those principles?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. It's very simple. It's the three guiding principles are look, listen, learn. And so the looking it's looking inward. And that's all really, it's about understanding who you are, what you want, and why it matters. Who am I? What do I really want? And why is that important to me? So that's the inward looking journey. And it's an exciting journey. It can take you to dark places, and it's a beautifully illuminating journey as you understand and get to know who you are. And I believe walking in nature, again, plays a crucial role, or can play a big role in that. Guiding principle 2 is listen. That's once you connect with your higher self. That's my word for that inner wisdom. Some people call it God. I do too, actually. I think it's my soul, and my soul is connected to God. There's all sorts of different names and words for that part of yourself that you're connecting to. So whatever word's comfortable for you. And then the listening is tuning in to hear that voice, and listen to the guidance that it has to offer. And we know, as I said earlier, we know who we are. We know what we really want. When we take the time to tune in and listen, we will be guided to the best version of ourselves and the greatest version of our life. But it takes time to really listen, to find that guidance and tune in and follow, and have the trust in following that inner voice of wisdom. And the third is to learn, and that's multifaceted. I mean, it's the simple things of learning, like tangible skills of, what, like the things you might want to put on a resume that will help you become that best version of you. And it's the intangible as well, learning to trust, learning to surrender, learning to let go of old stories so you can move into the present. And most importantly, it's learning to love. This is fundamental. Love of self is the foundation to creating a life that is aligned with your highest self, to creating a life that is going to enable you to tap into the most beautiful version of who you are. And that starts by loving yourself deeply. So, and I think we can all learn to love ourselves more. So that's a big part of it. And the work you do in the forgiveness piece is huge in that, learning to love yourself deeply. Yeah.
Forgiveness of yourself as well, and
Yeah.
people around you. Anita, I have so many questions for you, but I'm aware of the time. I want to go back to your book, The Whispers of the Soul. Who is this book for?
This book is for anyone who is feeling lost, uncertain about the direction to take in their life. They're looking for some change. They know there's something bigger out there for them, and they're perhaps fearful of how to move forward or don't know how to move forward. So it's about it's a lot of what we talked about here. You know, it's I teach something called the Wisdom Way, and that are the 3 guiding principles to create a life that is aligned with your highest self. And I offer guidance on how to do that. And I share a lot of personal stories throughout the journey now.
Amazing. So this book is coming live in mid-February this year. So keep an eye, guys, on Amazon and also on Anita's website. You would advertise it on your website, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And my website is joyfulinspiredliving.com. So you can head over there, find out about all the different things that I do. And I offer a lot of free stuff to help people on their journey as well. So
if people would love to get in contact with you, Anita, what would be the best way?
They can email me at anita@joyfulinspiredliving.com. My contact information is all on my website, so it's best to go there, joyfulinspiredliving.com.
Okay, perfect. Anita, before we go, do you have any concluding thoughts?
Yeah, I want to encourage people to connect with nature for a number of reasons. One, it helps you find that grounding, the clarity of mind. It helps you fall in love with your environment, which helps you love yourself more deeply as well. But we also protect what we love. And if you fall in love with your natural environment, we'll protect our natural environment. And I want to see more of that happening in the world. So I encourage people to get out into nature, like 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, just connect with your natural environment. And you will be amazed of the benefits that will bring to you.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, Anita Adams.